Today's show is brought to you by adamandeve.com. Go to adamandeve.com right now and you'll get 50% off just about any item. All you have to do is enter the code word GLORY, Glory, at checkout.
Be advised that this show is not for children, the faint of heart, or the easily offended. The explicit tag is there for a reason.
Recording live from Glory Hole Studios in Chicago, this is Cognitive Dissonance. Every episode we blast anyone who gets in our way. We bring critical thinking, skepticism, and irreverence to any topic that makes the news, makes it big, or makes us mad. It's skeptical, it's political, and there is no welcome mat. This is episode 573 of Cognitive Dissonance. And Cecil, we are drumming ever closer to a return to in-studio recording, my friend. I actually purposely used the old Glory Hole Studios in Chicago intro. Because I just felt it today. I just felt it, man.
I am very excited for that to happen. We also, something we didn't, I don't know that we mentioned it. Did we mention last week the 10-year anniversary on the actual
Not
show
on the
part?
show.
Yeah.
We did it on the live stream.
So we mentioned on the live stream last week, and I don't think we mentioned it on the show itself, but we've just celebrated 10 years of Cognitive
10 years
Dissonance.
Podcasting, man.
And we got a ton of messages from a bunch of people who basically told us when they listened to the show, how long they've been listening. So many people have been listening for a very long time, but it was really great to hear that. But one thing that struck me is we've been in this studio for 5 years.
Yeah, that's nuts, man.
It's like just 5 years.
Bonkers that we've been.
Yeah.
That's a fast 5 years, Cecil.
Man. And we were in this studio. We were in this studio when Trump was elected. We were in the studio when he wasn't elected.
Wow, man.
It turns out.
Woo.
Yeah. Yeah. But
we've had that studio for a long time.
Yeah,
now.
5 years.
Crazy.
5 years. But it's been a great time to be here. And we're slowly creeping up to that one day, which will be a couple weeks from now.
2 weeks, bud.
Couple weeks. And so, we're both, I know I'm really super excited to actually have someone in studio. I mean, God, who isn't sick of Zoom calls by now? I mean, Jesus Christ, right?
I am. Now that you're vaccinated, is there any noise at your work about people like having meetings or
no, actually
gatherings at all?
The way people talked was that there will be some, and they are asking people who work there to get vaccinated. And I think they expect that, I work in higher ed, and I think they expect in the fall that there will be more people on campus. But I also expect that, and I was told this, that we are going to be, the people who are not student facing will definitely be looking at a hybrid model because it's just not going to be safe to have as many people on campus all the time. It's just not. Yeah. I mean, this is going to be a reality we're going to have to fight for a little while because, America's not going to be fucking herd immunity by that point. So they're already talking about hybrid model from now until forever.
I think that's the only way to go.
Yeah.
I really do. I think that's the only way to go. I was thinking about this, and I don't need to be like the world's biggest Debbie Downer, but I will be for a second. So I was thinking about it in relation to my own work, because I've got a lot of staff, and I've got the vast majority of them are at home, and I shut down my building, and my old building, and I sublet it out. And I have no intention of returning to the office full time. And I say that full stop, not just like soon. I mean, I just have no intention of returning to the office Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
9 to 5. That's not a thing I'm interested in doing anymore. I'm not interested in commuting either. But I was thinking about the pandemic, man, and I don't know what you think, but I don't think we're getting out of this for years and years and years.
Yeah.
Fully out of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be tough.
We're still, still looking at there's only 10 countries that have the vast bulk of all the vaccines.
Yeah.
And until most of the world is vaccinated, we'll just keep having more variants. And from a technical perspective, the variants aren't that big of a problem because you can just get boosters.
Yeah.
But from a cultural perspective, you've got half of all Republicans, which is 25% of the country, saying we're not going to get
do it.
vaccinated. You've got kids who are not yet even eligible for vaccination. And that's another quarter of the country.
Yeah.
How the fuck you get to herd immunity? And then you got to get, and that's for the Wuhan dose. But then to get boosters, every time a variant comes out that has the potential to break through the primary vaccine or the initial vaccine that's issued, most of the world has no access to vaccines. And that's where most of the population lives.
Yeah.
So it's just like a perpetual breeding ground for additional variants. I just, like, people are like, when this is over. And I'm like, this might not be over. There might not be an over that we can look. This might be like Afghanistan. Like, it might be 20 years before we pull our troops out.
And I think that there's going to be strategies that we're going to have to employ to do more and more and more and more as time goes on and change things. But the tough part is the people that are denialist right now.
Yeah.
Where we're at with the denialism is the worst part because, we have people out there who are actively misinforming people about vaccines. You have people, and the best thing that ever happened to them is them pulling Johnson & Johnson off. Just for a couple weeks, just to look at it. It's the best thing that ever happened to them because they love it. They love to spread disinformation. And really, there's the way that they're talking about this Johnson & Johnson. I mean, I got the Johnson & Johnson, and I would
get it again right now.
And there was there's people I know who were in that age range that are women that got it. And the thing is like, I'm going to just trust what they have to say. And if it's pull it off the market, cool, pull it off the market. If it's, and the thing is like, when you look at it, it's a very slim chance. And they're probably going to reinstate it very soon, in fact, because they're going to look at more data. They're going to collect the data and they're going to say, yeah, we're good. That's probably exactly what's going to happen. But the best part about this is we're watching it happen in real time. This is science happening in real time. And, we have to move quickly, but we have not moved recklessly. And I think that's something that we need to remember.
Yeah, I don't think this is I think in terms of getting back to normal, which is like the phrase I just keep hearing and hearing and hearing, and like getting back to normal and defeating COVID, from a technical perspective, we are in this unbelievably brilliant new phase in medicine, like just from a technical perspective. Sure. But we're just at this cultural low spot.
Yeah, really
and it's
bad
so
spot.
weird to be at that confluence, right? Because if we were in a cultural high ground, if we were even in a cultural level ground, I think it would match better with some of the incredible advances and some of the incredible technical and medical advances.
For sure.
But this is becoming so much more of a cultural issue than it will be any kind of a technical issue.
Absolutely.
And I'm looking around at this and I'm like, holy shit, man. I mean, like the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, so far there's 6 people with reported blood clots. If the Johnson & Johnson vaccine even was for sure the cause of those, it means there's a 1 in 1.1 million chance.
Yeah.
And like oral contraceptives have a 1 in 1,000 chance of causing a blood clot. Like it's a 1 in 1.1 million chance is a lower chance than almost all the medications that you take. And it might actually just be like the same as you're walking around. Sometimes people just get blood clots chance.
Sure.
So it might not even have anything to do with it.
Sure.
But it's exactly what you said. It's going to get like this information will be purposely misunderstood by bad actors, turned into disinformation, and then spread around in order to sow the, chaos. Yeah. Honestly, it's chaos.
Yeah.
And it's so weird to be in this, like, I just feel like we're at this like crazy equilibrium point where you've got like, a huge portion of the population who's getting vaccinated. In some states, like in New Mexico, which is the highest vaccination numbers in the country, they're like approaching 50%. They're like, that's a huge achievement.
Absolutely.
And nationally, it's something like 38% that have received at least one dose. I mean, but then you also have like 75,000 new cases a day. And it's so, it's like cognitive dissonance all the time when you read the news. Like, are we winning? Are we losing? Are we going to move forward culturally with these solutions and get boosters and do the things that we I can't even believe technically we figured out how to do, or are we just going to continue this weird culture war like it's somebody writing, Jesus on your fucking Starbucks cup. It's baffling. It's baffling to be in this space, Cecil.
It's weird that it is a political issue, that public health has become a political issue. And we're in a strange spot. A lot of people don't understand that public health will require many of us to comply with this vaccination. You have to get it in order for public health to succeed, in order for us to reach the point where all of us are safe. It has to be more than the people that are willing to step up now.
Yeah, I'm really, to say that I'm interested to see how this plays out does not begin to cover it. I'm really nervous about how it's going to play out, man.
Cop killing citizen.
384,000 results. Narrow it down.
Cop killing citizen today.
14,000 results. Keep going.
Cop killing citizen today, Broadway and 6th.
Oh, only 3 results.
There it is.
Shaped macaroni is better than tube macaroni. Oh. What are you gonna kill me, you peckerwood? Oh,
You got him.
You know what we're not on the verge of realizing, though, Tom?
What's that, Cecil?
That the police love to kick the shit out of us.
Brother, how a fucking about it?
Man.
It's bonkers. So this story comes from CBS News. Former Buffalo officer who stopped fellow cops' chokehold on suspect will get pension after winning lawsuit. So there was a former Buffalo police officer who stopped one other cop. So, and we've talked about this. Why don't the other cops intervene? Why don't the other cops intervene? She was fired for intervening when a white officer attempted to choke a black suspect.
She was fired, Tom. Literally right into the movies. I'm a couple weeks away from retiring. She was going to get her full pension. A couple weeks. They literally fired her a few weeks ahead of that to deny her full pension.
Yeah, let me read this because it boggles the mind that this went to court, because that means that there had to be an opposing side to the argument.
Yep.
Like a serious or serious-ish or serious-seeming person had to stand there and contend that there was another moral or legal option, right?
Right.
Horn gained national attention in 2006 when she stopped Officer Greg Kwiatkowski's chokehold on Neil Mack. Neil Mack looked like he was about to die, Horn told CBS This Morning in an interview in 2020, 14 years after the event. So had I not stepped in, he possibly could have. He was handcuffed and being choked. She was ultimately fired in 2008, mere months before she was eligible to receive her full pension.
You have to pay for that normally. To get choked while you're handcuffed, you normally have to pay somebody a lot of money.
Now, if she was choking him, then it would have been different. Then you got to leave a tip, and
He's
it's like the whole thing.
screaming the safe word. Nobody's listening.
You just zip his mouth shut.
Let me tell you something. When police are choking you, there is no safe word. There's just none.
Right.
You don't have one. There's no safe word.
The safe word is not, I can't breathe.
I'm dying.
The safe word is not,
doesn't
mother,
work.
help me.
Does not work. Nothing works. There's no safe word.
This guy, by the way, sued the 5 officers that were involved in his arrest. The jury found no wrongdoing in a rule of 5-1. The only black guy on the jury was like, yeah, I'm the one.
Yeah.
I'm the one. How do you find no wrongdoing? In what world are you like, all right, he is handcuffed, but he hasn't been choked enough?
We tried him in the court of white supremacy. We tried him in the court of systemic racism. Yeah.
Incidentally, that same cop who fucking choked in 2018, he was sentenced to 4 months in federal prison for a 2009 incident in which he used unlawful and unreasonable force against 4 black teenagers, including slamming their heads into a car.
Every one of these guys that does this and gets caught has almost always has a record as long as their arm of being fucking Charlie Bronson and beating people up.
Yep.
That almost look at Derek Chauvin. Look at what's happening right now with the George Floyd case up there. If you watch it or pay attention to it, when they bring up all the incidents in his past where he fucking like went out of his way to hurt people,
Yep.
And then they also interestingly brought up at one point where he actually saved a guy's life because he turned him on his side. And so he knew better. He fucking knew better.
That was interesting in that. Have you been following the trial?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, I've been reading about it. That was a really interesting and smart thing for prosecution to bring up. Like, yeah, I turned that guy. I know this is dangerous.
Yep.
There's evidence you fucking know.
Man.
There's no.
He fucking knew.
He knew. There's no way. That trial is not going well for the defense.
Dude, that fucking tape. I mean, I fucking watched that shit when it happened, but I don't know maybe it's just a year of utter despair that I just spent. But it's fucking heartbreaking now. Like it was bad really back then. Like it was bad. And I watched it a couple times, right? So it was bad in fucking June when it happened or whatever last year.
Right.
It was fucking bad. But I heard it during this trial and I'm getting choked up. I'm watching, I'm like, motherfucker. I can't believe
it's really bad.
It's like it's probably the fourth or fifth time I've seen it. And like I say, maybe it's just what has happened over the summer, which was literally nothing to solve the fucking problem. Maybe that's what I'm like, why I'm feeling this. But it is hard to fucking watch again. It's fucking hard to watch again, man.
It really is. It really is unbelievably gut-wrenching. And it's unbelievably slow. And it's just so spectacularly unnecessary and just cruel. There's just an indifference to that level of cruelty.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, it is depraved. It is depraved indifference to the suffering of another human being that you're causing. And people are pointing it out. And I have to wonder, and I don't know, man, but like, part of me wonders is like, are these guys so hubristic that the presence of people saying, hey, stop that, you're killing is like, I got to like double down and I can't.
Yeah.
Right. Like I can't be shown to be weak because of this fucking toxic culture and this toxic masculinity bullshit. And, like this, like loss of authority or ceding to the, someone else's will make me look weaker. Like, I wonder if any of that shit horrifyingly played into it, because it's just, you watch it and I don't understand how you can just slowly fucking asphyxiate somebody who's begging you not to asphyxiate them.
Yeah.
It's just so horrible.
Yeah.
Just so fucking horrible.
Yeah. I don't know what is, and there always is this machismo, this bullshit that happened this last week with the guy who got fucking maced. Where,
oh my God,
the cop is basically saying, you're gonna ride the lightning. You better damn well be afraid of me and all that stuff. Like, what the fuck, man? And the thing is that, and the defense to all this, the defense that we hear constantly is this idea that there's some way in which they deserve this kind of thing, right? So maybe they didn't, because, that person was a criminal. And so they did drugs and they were on drugs and they were trying to steal. And there's all this extra shit that we pile on because we want to they want to discredit and dislike the victim so that we suddenly side with the police officer because they're just catching a bad guy, right? A bad guy. And I'm using quotes here, bad guy, right? And so there's just this weird thing that we do where we keep on sort of and the arguments belie this fact because they keep on saying, he had drugs in his system and was it the knee on his throat for 10 minutes that killed him? No, it could have also been that he was high at the time or something. And so we in some way want to make sure that we keep on vilifying the victim over and over and over again. And we keep on excusing the abuser over and over. We're in this weird abusive relationship with the police that we've been in for years, and we just keep doing it over and over and over again. We keep doing the same thing where we excuse their abuse.
Man, did you see that guy who got shot this last week because the police officer mistook her taser for her service weapon?
Sure, yeah.
So, I got to find it real quick because there's a Fox News headline that could not be a better example of what you were just pointing out. Here's a headline from Fox News. Just Dante Wright, accused of choking and robbing woman at gunpoint, had arrest warrant. Wright's case was still pending when he was pulled over Sunday. Okay. Okay.
That doesn't mention any of that at all.
That's the headline. The entire headline is a smear job at somebody who was just shot because somebody mistook it doesn't make any fucking difference what he did last week.
Yeah.
None of that fucking matters. It so doesn't matter, Cecil, that the cop didn't even mean to do it. I watched that video. That was a genuine fucking mistake. It's a stupid mistake and she should be held accountable for it. It was a mistake. But it looks very much like a mistake. I believe she made a mistake. I don't think it's okay that she made a mistake. But like smearing in the media, smearing this guy suggests that it's okay if you make a mistake when it's this black guy who had a prior.
Sure.
Right? It's okay if you accidentally fucking execute a person of color because, he had some bad shit in his past. So let's excuse the fact that she drew the wrong weapon. This is a case where it's not even controversial that the use of force was justified. The use of force wasn't justified. The woman who used the force didn't intend to use that force.
She literally didn't even intend to use that level.
But the smear job by the media, the right-wing media, against the victim of police violence is always the same.
Yeah.
It is always the same. This is just another version. This is the racial rather than misogynist version of, well, what were you wearing?
Yeah.
In this case, it's a fucking lot of melanin.
Yep.
That's what it was.
That's all it took.
Like a great tan.
That's all it took. And, we have come to believe, at least many people in this country come to believe, that when you say no to a police officer, that is worthy of death. And they do not care that someone died when that happened. They do not care at all if you did, because their answer to this, many people's answer, this isn't just one person, this isn't just one pundit, this is many people's answer. They will say, well, they should have just listened. They should have just followed directions. They should have. There's no crime in this country that is worth, in many places in this country, that is even worth death. And the idea that you should say that a person who disobeys a police officer getting murdered is okay.
Yeah.
We don't allow it. We just don't allow it. We don't even allow people to get fucking roughed up in jail.
Right.
We don't allow that.
Right.
Because that's cruel and unusual punishment. But it's perfectly fine if we're trying to apprehend somebody that you can rough the fuck out of that person.
Man, and we don't apply that standard equally. Like, I guarantee, like, if you've got, like, a nice neighborhood and some fucking white guy is drunk and the cops pull him over and he gets mouthy, do you think he gets beat to shit the same way these guys do?
It doesn't
happen.
happen.
Do you think they fucking draw weapons for the same fucking frequency? Absolutely. We know it's not true. Like, it's all rhetorical because the numbers continue to bear this shit out. Like, of course not. Of fucking course not. It's horrifying. The amount of police abuse and violence. That dude who got pepper sprayed?
Yeah.
Like, that dude the cops were behind him. He put his fucking blinker on. He drove to the BP station because it was brightly lit and he's fucking nervous about the cops. And then the cops seem mad that he was nervous about it. He's got his arms out the window. He's not a threat in any way. He's just not getting out of the car. What does he want to get out of the car for? He hadn't done anything wrong anyway. He did not have a reason to be pulled over in the fucking first place. Right. None of that matters.
Doesn't matter.
None of that matters.
It's contempt
the
to
cops
cop,
told him to be afraid. They told him to be afraid. It is.
That's all it is. That's all it is. It's them finding a job where they have this bit of power, and the moment anybody questions that power, they take it out on somebody. And that's happened over and over and over again. And I know that people are going to send us messages and say not all cops are that way. And that's cool. I'm sure not all cops are that way. But here's the problem. It's the same thing that happened in this story. They're not willing to go to bat to stop those cops that are like that. And if they get fired. And then they lose their pension if they do. So there's a systemic problem with policing in this country, and there has been for a very long time.
Yep.
Some people like to hurt people, and all the rest of them don't do anything about it. So there's genuinely a problem.
Yep. Man, this woman, it took her 14 years to win back her pension. Yeah. Right. What is she supposed to? I bet she was counting on that money.
Sure. I bet.
14 fucking years.
That's Tom, 14 years. She was, she was almost certainly counting on it. And look at that when, it had to go through the courts. They had to go to another court, but she lost a 4-1 in the past.
Yeah. Fucking insane, man. Yeah. It's fucking insane. This story from USA Today just emphasizes the point. No apology owed for pepper spraying Black and Latino Army officer in Virginia. This is that case we were talking about. It's become relatively infamous, where the gentleman pulled over with his arms out the window and got fucking pepper sprayed. And then, then they tried to say, like, don't fucking say anything about what happened here because they knew they were in the wrong. Fucking ridiculous.
They came out with their fucking hands on their fucking belts like, we're going to be a tough guy. And just listen to how they talk to him. Just listen to what they say to him. Just listen to how they treat this person. And 100% they wanted to hurt him. They wanted a reason to hurt him.
Yep. That's why I had a friend who became a cop, and he flat out told me, like, we hung out afterwards and like we were talking. This was many years ago. And he's like, yeah, I like working the night shift because there's more fights. He just likes that's part of why he wanted to be a cop.
Sure.
Is he just liked the action. He liked the adrenaline rush. He wanted to just go get in fucking fights. And I'm like, these aren't fights, man. You beat people. Yeah. It's not a fight. A fight is like you and I are armed in the same way. A fight is not, I have a fucking bat utility belt full of weapons and I beat the shit out of you along with the full force of the law behind me. That's not a fight. You can't fight a cop. The cops fight you. Yeah. They beat the shit out of you and then you cower because what the fuck else are you going to do?
I am curious, though, if other countries treat their police officers with the same sort of 100% authority that we are expected to.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what it's like in other countries. Because, and I wonder if it is because we just are a vengeance-based society and we think if the cop pulls you over, you kind of probably deserved it. And so we just presume that you should I don't know, just be respectful 100% and always say yes or no, sir, and hold your hands up and beg for your life or whatever they want you to do. But I'm curious if in other countries, if they expect police officers to hurt them or, like this, tell them that they're going to kick the shit out of them or tell them that, say the wrong thing and I'll pull my taser out and shock you. Go ahead. I fucking dare you. Like, do you feel lucky, punk? He seriously could have said that next. That's what that could have been the next line.
I wonder too how much of this isn't, and we talked about this before, but I really think it's a massive problem. I wonder how much of our cop problem comes back to our guns problem.
Yeah.
Because, if every citizen may or may not be armed at any moment, like if the cops pull you over and everybody may or may not be armed at any fucking moment, there is this idea that, guns equal fear equals violence, you know, and because fear is the legal justification for police violence.
100%. Yeah,
I felt afraid I get to use this certain level of violence.
They can do whatever they want at that. Yeah.
You get rid of the guns, I think you get rid of a lot of this shit. I can't believe he said we don't even owe that guy an apology.
It's unbelievable.
We don't even want to give him an apology.
Next up on Radio 4, the dissimilitude and homogeneity of resplendent sexual selection history. We take you now to the program already in progress. For thousands of years, Adam and Eve has provided a philosophy of advanced sex technology. Today, we can owe that wisdom in no small part to these early thinkers and their embrace of this philosexical pursuit. Plato. Love is the joy of the good, the wonder of the wise, the amazement of the gods, and the usage of code glory. Cirrus Pubilis. The road to glory is difficult unless you use it at adamandeve.com. And I'm quite serious about your pubilius. Oliver Goldsmith, our greatest glory is not in never failing, but in rising up every time we fail. And nothing rises me up more than using code glory at adamandeve.com. Shakespeare. Glory is like a circle in the water, which never ceaseth to enlarge itself, till by broad spreading it disperses to naught. If you catch my meaning. Sophia Loren. Sex appeal is 50% what you've got and 50% what people think you've got, and 50% savings off almost any one item at adamandeve.com. Use code GLORY. Alfred Austin, the glory of gardening, hands in the dirt, head in the sun, heart with nature. To nurture a garden is to feed not just on the body, but the soul. In this case, garden means your arbor vitae, Cupid's warehouse, staff of life, aphrodisiacal tennis court, silent flute, or vertical bacon sandwich. Yet he did not waver through unbelief regarding the promise of God, but was strengthened in his faith and gave code glory to God. Romans 4:20, blaze it. Albert Einstein. God does not play dice because there's no chance that he would miss the savings when you use code GLORY at adamandeve.com. When you do, Adam and Eve loads on the free stuff, including 6 free spicy films. Insanity would be not using code GLORY. A proverb from ancient Sumeria. Some say marrying is human, procreating may be divine, but getting spit roasted with a toy for me, one for them, and a third we will all enjoy is straight up galaxy brain. Offerings are the glory of the gods, and they really like free shipping. Thank you for exploring the historical implications that Code Glory and adamandeve.com have had on human society. Join us next week for Fornicating Under Consent of Queen, the dill-do's and dill-don'ts of 16th century aristocratic anal Olympics. This is Radio for some.
While I was away having an incredible, potentially Peabody Award-winning interview with Elsa Moulton, we had a close encounter. All of our belongings rearranged throughout the cabin in a highly specific, highly ordered fashion. We have 3 structures, all 3 pointing directly to the sky, potentially signaling a higher power. If that isn't confirmation of extraterrestrial life, then I don't know what is.
This story comes from NBC News. Without his Twitter account, Trump's conspiracy theories find little traction. Very importantly, Trump's conspiracy theories are vaccine-based.
Yep.
This shitty, two-faced, lying, orange motherfucker. This is a guy who got COVID. Then this is a guy who got the vaccine. And he is still trying to sow doubt. He's trying to sow doubt in the vaccine while also trying to say the vaccine should be called the Trumpsine.
Yep.
He wants it, and he wants it every fucking way possible.
Yeah. The worst part about all that is that he was one of the few people who got it and didn't do it out in front of everybody. Yeah. A lot of these ex-presidents and famous people have been either taking selfies or they've been getting filmed doing it or whatever, just to sort of ease people's fears on taking the vaccine. You know, one of my most liked photos of the last year just so happened to be me holding a vaccine card in front of this thing, this little board behind me that just said, you know, COVID vaccinated. It was a selfie station of where I took it. We both got it in the same place in Quincy, Illinois. They had a selfie station. I had my wife take because there was a million people coming in and out, so we couldn't get a selfie together. She took mine, I took hers. But we essentially got a photo taken because we wanted to show people, you know, that we got it. But seriously, one of the most liked photos I had this last year was taking that photo and showing people that I was vaccinated. And so that whole thing is sort of a phenomenon. And he chose not even to do it. He chose to go hide in a weird room and get his vaccination. And chances are he got advanced treatments too. They even said he got advanced treatments when he was in the hospital. So he got advanced treatments for this. He got a vaccine. He had the best medical care in the world, and he's still shitting on it.
Yeah, he got the best treatments. Then he told people after he got out of it, don't be afraid of it. It's not that big a deal.
Sure.
So it's not that big a deal if you're the fucking president of the United States and you can get every fucking option and every fucking resource and every 24-hour monitoring, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, don't be afraid. So because the thing is, he wants to appeal to as many people's crazy as possible.
He loves it.
And he does not want to be seen at any point as committing really substantially to any strong position, right? So to those who want to credit him with the vaccine, he's happy to take the credit. Should have called it the Trump scene. I did a lot. I created it. Me, the vaccine, I, me, I. But I'm not going to let you see me get the vaccine because all the vaccine hesitant and vaccine denying right-wing nut jobs, he doesn't want to put those guys off, right? He wants to continue to politicize the vaccine because that controversy and that anger and that boiling sort of cultural rage plays into his brain.
Sure.
So he's able to, he's working both ends, and they're so obviously hypocritical. But the wonderful thing is, man, he doesn't fucking matter anymore.
Yeah, man.
Because they took him off of Twitter, and he does this stupid shit, and it barely makes the news. What makes the news is the story about how he doesn't make the news anymore. Without Twitter, he's got nobody retweeting him. He's got no flurry of activity on his page. The back and forth, can you believe what Trump said? All that's gone. Just like that.
I'm going to say right now, it's not his fault. It's Twitter's fault. And I'm going to say that because he was president for a brief time without a Twitter account. And his shit fell. It fell while he was president of the United States.
Couldn't agree more, man.
That is a man who had the largest megaphone. He could literally call a press conference whenever the fuck he wants. Like if he calls a press conference, he'll fucking pack the room, 100% pack the room. And he could do it. A press conference after he could schedule one for 11:30, have one at 12, have one at 12:30, have one and he could like just walk out and read his dumb little fucking tweet that he wrote, that he fucking press released out. He could just read that aloud, Tom, and then leave. And they would sit there and photograph him. But you know what? Without Twitter to push it, just fell flat. It just fell flat. It's Twitter. It's the problem. That's the problem. That's the issue. Twitter is the problem. It's not the president. Because the president was just using the tool the right way. Well, I mean, in a horribly wrong way, but still, he knew how to tune it up.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, like, Twitter wants this to happen. That's why they were so reluctant to do it. It has nothing to do with free speech. It has everything to do with money.
Yeah.
Like, Twitter doesn't give a fuck about your free speech. They give a fuck about their bottom line.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, when somebody like Trump goes on and he tweets something and then 60 or 70 or 80 million people view it, react to it, share it, retweet it, engage with it, it creates all kinds of buzz. It gets people to go on Twitter. I want to go on Twitter and see what the fucking president said. Hey, can't believe you said that. I'm going to share it with a fucking response. And then it's more activity, and that generates more activity. And that kind of shit is just good for business. The business model isn't based on what's good. It's based on what creates energy in the system, what creates more tweeting.
Absolutely.
And like, they never wanted to pull this off. They never wanted to pull off the vaccine shit, man. Yeah. Like the more controversy is dollars. It's cash.
That
like division and pain and suffering and anguish, man. That is what the business model is. It's not your baby photos, because your baby photos don't get fucking shared. They don't go viral. It's not your baby photos. They're not making cash on that. They make cash when people get hurt, man. Well, it's always the hurt.
That insurrection was the best thing that could have happened in some ways, because that got so many people knocked off that were just fucking crazy, asshole, shitty people that just got ejected from the social media sphere because they were so toxic, even that the social media companies wouldn't touch them. And they and don't get me wrong, they, like Tom said, they don't give a fuck if you're toxic. They're not going to let you stay forever until you cross very certain lines. And that insurrection was a line that many people crossed. And it was the one line, I think, pretty much the only line that the president could cross that they would probably kick him off for.
Yeah, and I genuinely think that moment was so scary and so destabilizing that tech companies looked at that and thought, all right, well, if we want to have a functioning society for me to sell my stock, I can't let an insurrection be successful.
Got to choose.
So the stability of our country is, I rely on that in order to have economic stability. So there's a moment that had to be realized where it's like, whoa, man, it doesn't matter fuck all about democracy or what's good or what's right or what makes it doesn't, none of that. It's just, man, if the country fucking collapses on itself, the economy will collapse and I will eat shit too. That's all it is.
I don't have stock if I don't have a country. So it's not going to work. Yeah.
It's genuinely that's it. Because there was no world where the insurrection was successful and then like everything just is okay tomorrow.
For sure.
That's a civil war,
Yeah.
which is, I think, bad for business.
The good thing is, though, is that he's off of there. I just hope that people see this and they see through the idea that it's not Trump, and that we start paying more attention to this, and that there starts to be something that stops this. Either something that stops this or it goes on a style. Like, I just hope it turns into the pet rock eventually.
Man, me
where
too.
People just stop. They just look at it and say, this is stupid. I don't want to do this anymore. Because Facebook lost a lot of people back in the day when it started to become a boomer hangout. I know a lot of kids left Facebook. They left it not for better and greener pastures, because we found out that TikTok got crazy conspiracies
TikTok's
all over it too.
Horror now too.
So it doesn't matter, right? The conspiracy theorists will fuck any social media that you put in front of them. They don't give a shit. But the fact is like, I hope that at one point in the future, there's a moment where everybody looks at social media like they did the hula hoop and they say, we're done with this. I hope that happens, man.
I am all the way there, man.
Yeah.
I am like, I'm fully erect for that world.
Let's just stop. We'll go back to pagers or whatever. I don't even know.
Man.
Get a 911 page from your friend or whatever. Back in the day, okay, so people who didn't have pagers, if your friend you had to call you very quickly, you had put 911 at the end of your number, and then they would call you very quickly. Like, it was an emergency.
Everybody like with pagers at work. Did you have a pager?
I did. I had a pager, sure.
I had a pager that my dad didn't know I had. Like, my dad was super, super, super strict. So I had a pager, and then I like hid it from my dad. For years, he didn't know I had this pager. And like, me and my buddy had like a whole bunch of different codes. Like, he'd text me a number and be like, 3, and that means like I'm on my way over, and then I'd be like, oh cool, or like 3, and then the number of what time he'd be there, and I'd be like, oh cool, I'm gonna sneak out my window and go outside, because I snuck out all the time.
Sure.
My dad had a 6 p.m. curfew through high school and like even the beginning of college. I had to be home for dinner, and then he wasn't real keen on letting me go out after. But I went out all the time. I would just go out my window.
Sure.
But I had this secret pager, and everybody had like secret codes that they used like amongst themselves.
You ever tell your dad that you snuck out?
No, I don't think he'd be happy about it. No, and I know he doesn't listen to this show.
What's he gonna do?
I don't know. He still scares me, Cecil. You know, the truth is, like, we don't have that kind of. My dad isn't the kind of guy who would look back and be like, "That's so funny." He would look at it and be like, "I'm offended you did that. You lied to me." And he would be like, hurt?
Yeah.
And I don't want to like...
I lied 4 decades ago.
Yeah, for real though. For real. I'm like 43 years old. And I think if I told him, I think he'd be kind of pissed.
That's kind of funny though.
I know. He's just
Your
like...
old man harbors a grudge. That's great.
Yeah. It's new to him. As soon as he finds out, it just happened. Yeah. No. Did you tell your parents about the stuff you did when you were... Did you ever like joke and be like, when we were growing up, I like did this thing or that thing? Or
I'm sure I did. The thing is my parents are very different than your parents. They didn't instill fear in me. So like I was never like really afraid. They knew I was a shitty kid, and I was a shitty kid when I was a shitty kid. So it didn't matter. Like when I was a kid, I was shitty, and I was later on in life, I was like, I was still shitty, and they're like, we knew. Hey.
So what is Facebook when you think about it? It's friends plus updates plus ads. That's all it is. Which means eventually Facebook is ads. That's all it is, ads. Now, when you buy an ad, what is it? You pay a certain amount of money, it runs for a certain amount of time. Therefore, Facebook is time times money. Now, we all know time is money. Therefore, Facebook is money times money, or in fact, money squared. Now, since money is the root of all evil, therefore money squared is evil, therefore Facebook is evil.
This next story is in a similar vein from Salon.com. Facebook could have stopped 10 billion impressions from repeat misinformers.
Yep.
But didn't.
Yeah.
So again, this is really interesting because it tells you how important and how powerful just a small handful of people are. And this would be information that we could very easily get metrics on and stop. The report accuses Facebook of being so lax that the top 100 repeat misinformers on the site received millions more interactions than the combined total netted by the top 100 traditional U.S. media pages. And the bulk of the report says Facebook used their algorithm to push this shit intentionally.
Sure.
They amplified with their system, they intentionally amplified misinformation shit out into the world because, again, that's what got people talking.
Yeah.
That's what got people arguing back and forth. It's what got them to stay on platform. It's what got them to hit fucking share. It's what got them angry. It's what got them to cross-pollinate between Twitter and Facebook and all of their others, and Instagram being another platform that Facebook, of course, owns. And all of that is big advertising dollars. So the longer you're mad and fucking, bitching with somebody online and fucking twiddling your goddamn thumbs in a desperate attempt to, confuse an internet stranger, the longer you do that shit, the longer you're on platform and the more ads Facebook is showing you.
Right.
And people are more susceptible to those ads when they're fucking emotionally worked up.
Sure.
So if they get you on there and they get you to stay on there and they get you fucking emotionally worked up and then they show you ads, you're more likely to act on them.
Yeah. I don't know how much, you don't know what 10 billion turns into, right?
Right.
But we definitely know that we're not doing super great on information these days, right?
No.
We know that. We know because we see vaccine disinformation. We see all this other QAnon disinformation, election disinformation, COVID disinformation. We see it all over the place. And we see that it's pervasive, and we see that it's constant, and we see that it's not a small group of people. These are large swaths of the American public that believe lies and bullshit. And so while I don't know what 10 billion means, I know it means that right now, getting a shot in your arm is a political decision. I know wearing a mask is a political decision. Why is it a political decision? Because it's tied to all these other things that are on social media that put us on a camp, that put us on a side. And so that's the problem. That's the issue. I don't know what 10 billion means, but I do know where we're at now, and maybe it shouldn't be 10 billion.
Yeah. The thing is, I believe that it could be much, much, much smaller.
Yeah.
And I believe that it's intentionally not small.
How much money do you fucking want at a certain point? How much money do you need? Right?
Yep.
At a certain point, you got to look at what you're doing. And I know that there was some fucking robber barons in the past that had, and I'm going to say this on an atheist podcast, a come to Jesus moment, right? I know that there was some fucking robber barons back in the day that saw the garbage that they were doing and thought, holy shit, what the fuck am I doing? And then changed their, a lot of their life. They had a Scrooge moment,
Right, yeah.
At a certain point, is Facebook ever going to have, is fucking Twitter
No.
or what? Are you ever going to have a fucking moment where you just say, you know what? I can't do this anymore. We've got to stop this. Because there are some guys, guys out there that built these platforms that are out there giving talks and saying, I had to walk away from that shit. That shit, I don't let my kids near it. Fuck that.
Yep. Yeah, there's a ton of the designers of these products that are just like, holy shit, everyone should know how these were designed.
Yeah.
We didn't know it would go this bad. I think there's a higher likelihood in my mind based on what I've seen. I'm just speculating, but there's a higher likelihood that Jack Dorsey will have a come to Jesus moment. Zuck seems to have that guy seems to have no principles.
Sure.
There does not seem to be any real ethical guidelines by which he's driven. And the scary thing about a guy like that is he's so young, man.
Yeah.
He's got so much fucking just room and runway still left to and it's amazing that these things can come down to just a tiny handful of decision makers that just lack ethics. And they can help to create the tools that create these insurrections.
Yeah.
And the anti-vax movement, gains this much strength in the middle. I mean,
Yeah.
just the horrors that we've seen.
Yeah.
And it's all solvable.
Government cheese make the best grilled cheese you'd have never had in your life.
Where do you buy government cheese?
You don't buy it.
You have to be on.
You got to be on their special mailing list.
You gotta be on the plan.
You're gonna end up eating a steady diet of government cheese and living in a van down by the river.
This story comes from Right Wing Watch. Far-right extremists unite to peddle COVID-19 vaccine disinformation. So I thought this was interesting because really we're at a weird place where all the nut jobs disagree fundamentally on all of their crazy except for the fucking COVID vaccine.
Sure. Yeah.
The COVID vaccine seems to be the thing that the far right, ultra fucking freedom fuckers can all unite behind, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a government vaccine. And they can decide that vaccine is full of whatever. If you're, you know, if you're a freedom defending constitutionalist nut job on the one side, it's big government telling me what I got to put in my arms, you know, and if you're like a QAnon person, there's microchips full of baby blood or whatever fucking nonsense is in there. Weirdly, if you're an evangelist, you're just anti it for some reason that doesn't seem to be coherent, except for that it's a distrust of government. I mean, it's and distrust of science because, you know, science is the alternative to religion.
Yeah.
So, but they all coalesce around the same organizing feature, and that's the COVID-19 vaccine is a symptom in all of their minds of everything that's wrong with America.
This is a great quote from here, Tom. I want to read this. This is from a woman who is on a QAnon Telegram channel with 68,000 subscribers. If you took the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, according to my readings, you have 3 years at best to live. Do the research. I would recommend if you don't know how God and if you don't know God and his redemption, learn it soon and live for him. I love the idea that someone just randomly is saying out loud, you got 3 years to live.
That's it.
And then to say, I did my research. I just love, because you'll see people scream that out. Do your research. You literally just hopped on Google and Google gave you results they thought you'd like at the top because Google knows you better than you do.
Yep. Based on other things you've read, you would also like to read this, is what Google means.
When I type in vaccines, I don't get, Cecil doesn't get anti-vax shit to come up very often.
Nope.
Most of the time won't come up. Not unless I use another search engine and it doesn't know who I am. Because it knows I don't want that. It knows I scroll past those. I don't look at those. I look at the CDC. I look at other stuff that's, you know, I'll look for a PubMed thing, or I'll find, you know, WebMD or whatever. I will look at something that's vetted. I will never look at some rando's blog. And so it doesn't populate that shit for me. But they think that because it brings it up for them that they did their research. No, Google just knew what you wanted. You wanted to be crazy and they gave you crazy.
Yeah. Google is in the business of returning search results that you want to click on. They are not in the business of returning search results that are accurate and honest and objective. They have the same business model as everybody else that uses your personal data to customize things for you. The goal isn't to give you anything other than more time spent looking at their ads.
Sure, they want.
That's it. That's it. Yeah. It's not like you said, like it's customized for everybody, but it's not true, honest, and objective. Yeah. It's literally the opposite of that.
And then
it creates bubbles.
And then they want to sell the data of what you clicked. They want to sell that to somebody else because somebody else is going to really enjoy what you just clicked because they're going to be able to sell you a thing or put a Facebook ad in your thing because they got it from the click that you did earlier. Yep. Or if it's not Google, it's your cable company or it's your cell phone company or, you know, because everybody's trying to get in on your data. They want to know about you. They want to know what you do. They want to know everything that you do so they could sell more shit to you.
Yep. Because the better they get at doing that, the better they are able to predict and modify your behavior. That's what all of this comes down to. We've all had that experience where you pick up your phone to look at something, you're having a conversation and your phone suggests something. You're like, holy shit, is my phone listening to me? And if you read anything, the answer is no. Your phone is not listening to you. It's just gotten that good. It's gotten that good based on other activity. And it's like people like you. And it gets real fucking deep and in depth. People like you right now at this time of night today, exactly, they're shopping for a mattress. Here's pictures of mattresses. And it feels fucking creepy. But everything that you read says, no, man, there's not massive listening warehouses that are just looking. That's not a thing. They just have come to learn you. They have learned you well enough to predict your behavior before you were aware of your own wants and desires. And it's in its infancy. Yeah. Just going to get better.
Well, and the worst part about this story in particular is that like you said, there's just this whole movement of people that are trying to undermine the COVID vaccine, they're going to be the ones that keep us in the COVIDs for a long time because you can't get a variant if you don't have it, right? You got to have it. And we're going to get these variants because it's just going to fucking race around in all these communities that aren't going to get fucking vaccinated.
Absolutely.
And they're not going to get vaccinated because they are choosing to be dumb. They are choosing to believe someone else that doesn't have their best interest at heart.
Those are some long legs.
I just had them lengthened. Now they go all the way up.
This story comes from the Daily Mail. This is terrific. Iranian state TV channel cut away from live coverage of Tottenham versus Manchester United more than 100 times, Cecil, to avoid showing the bare legs of the female assistant referee.
I just want to say, too, when you look at this woman, the bare legs, there's a hand width. Like if you were counting hands on a horse, there's a hand width of leg that you can see because she has socks that go up over her knees and her shorts are cut more like a man's than a woman's, right? They're cut like a man's shorts, like a man's athletic shorts. The style that is now where it goes down a little bit above the knee. What is it? 6 inches? You get to see. Oh man, her knee is really just turning me on, man. Poof, that knee.
How terrified. How terrified of women's bodies do you have to be that you're like, oh, I can see some of her leg. Click a button. Cut away. Don't watch the sock. Is there somebody like, is this the fucking JCPenney catalog for somebody out there?
Must be,
man. It
man.
must be, man.
Rank
Somebody's
one
like,
out of there.
oh, look at those shins. I love the
can't
top
see
of a
the
lady's
shins.
shins.
You can't even see the
I'm looking
shin.
at it right now. Like, you can see
there's
like
no shin,
basically
man.
like kind of her kneecap
like
and
her
the top.
knee dimple. Like that's what you get to see. You get to see a
fuck
knee
that
dimple.
knee dimple.
Yeah.
I would fuck her knee dimple. Who's like that? Why are you, if you're like that, stop and think about why you're like that.
Oh, man.
Fucking weirdos. How fucking crazy sexually repressed. What happens, Cecil, when these guys do undress a woman for the first time? Do they just short circuit entirely?
They don't really know what's under there. They're kind of like on guard the whole time. They like pull it back. Like, what's under there? I don't know what's. It's like pulling the covers back on. So like, what's under there? I don't even know.
Well, what the fuck does sex education look like in Iran? And I am curious.
And we say that as Americans.
Right. Oh,
You know?
I know, right?
Yeah.
Where we're just basically like, the fucking teacher's like, don't have sex because you get AIDS cancer. The end. Babies. And you're like, wait, that wasn't helpful at all. Like, I'm not sure.
And they're like, contraception, don't do it. The end.
Right.
That's the
Did you have comprehensive sex ed when you were in when did you have sex ed? Do you remember?
It was sophomore year in high school. And I did have, it was something of comprehensive sex ed when I was a kid. I do remember we had it also when I was in 5th grade. So that's that's grade 5 here in the United States. Right before you go to middle school here, you're sort of at the highest end of grade school. And I remember when I was a kid, I raised my hand because they said that the balls produce semen. And I remember raising my hand and saying, semen, is that like sperm and urine mixed together? Because I thought, it sounds alike, right? And she's like, no, that's not. You're stupid. And I was like, I know.
Just go to the back of the class.
I don't know anything about this. So do the balls hold the urine? Is that what's going on?
How do I get my balls in the woman? That's
when I squeeze my balls, do I shoot more urine out? Is that all this? I was such a
Do I got to get like a citrus juicer to
I was-
get it all out of there? Like the reamer?
And do I have to do that to her? I don't even know what's happening over there. And as a kid too, because they had 2 movies. It was Boy to Man and Girl to Woman. And I thought as a kid, I was like, we're going to watch Girl to Woman, right? Like, because I want to know what's going on under all that. And they're like, no, you're going to watch Boy to Man. I'm like, I already know what happens. I already know what I know what I have.
Right. I wish that I wish that I get segregating the sexes so that each sex is comfortable asking questions. But like, show us the video.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know you don't know what's going on. It's like, what's a woman look like? I don't know. They didn't show me the video. Like, as far as I know, all women look like a JCPenney catalog. They wear underwear all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why they like keep it a fucking mystery. Like, here's what'll happen to your dick if you have sex. It'll turn black and fall off.
Well, they just keep showing
everywhere.
They just keep showing the dick as it's like a limp dick, and then it goes whoop, and then it goes up whoop, and they just keep showing like the graphic,
like a party favor that you blow into,
of a fucking New Year's party favor that you're like that's your dick. I do remember though that the woman who answered my question when they didn't give us our regular teachers for this either. They brought in other teachers. I guess they figured that our other teachers, our actual 5th grade teachers, would never live down the fact that they said the word penis. Yeah. So they had to bring in somebody else to say the word penis. But I remember when I asked the lady about semen, and I embarrassed the shit out of myself as a kid. I remember her saying something like, you actually can't go to the bathroom with a heart on. And I remember half the class laughing. Like, are you kidding me? Of course you can. Just like,
let's do it. Lady, we do it every morning.
At a certain point during sex, you can't. But but with a heart on, you can. Yes, you can.
Yeah, they are not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, at a certain point during sex, there's like a little baffle that goes, no, there ain't nothing coming out of there. Hey, no. There's only this, But yeah, you can absolutely. Hell, half the kids learn how to fuck. You have to learn how to pee bending over when you're growing up. You got to learn how to like point it down and like stand on one leg.
That's
and
like
turn
a rite of
yourself
passage.
sideways and then your mom comes in. She's like, "Why did you pee all over the seat?" I'm like, "I literally couldn't help it. It's a fucking fountain down here. What are you kidding me?"
Because I'm fucking 13 and I got a piss boner and I don't know how to manage this thing.
I'm essentially that thing at fucking Epcot Center that shoots the piss in the air and then you got to stand it. I'm essentially that as a 10-year-old. Are you kidding me?
Listen, Mom, I'm Las Vegas. I'm the Bellagio. All right, it's just. I time this shit to music at this point.
You stand there with all your buddies and it's just poof, 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 poof. There's like a whole tunnel of urine you could walk underneath as it's going over your head. I think somebody's going to get weirded out about that. I'm talking about boys and I was a boy. I don't know what it's going to.
That's just how it is.
Yeah.
You wake up and you're like, oh man.
I can tell you though, there is nothing more embarrassing than getting sex ed wrong. I'll say that.
I'll never vote Trump, never vote Trump, never vote Trump. Not me, not me, not me, not me. No girl. Not me. Not me.
So this story comes from Huffington Post, and it shouldn't be a story. Liz Cheney's answer on if she'd ever vote for Trump stumps Fox News anchor. Neil Cavuto was not prepared for what the Wyoming congresswoman had to say about the former president. And I was like, I saw this headline. I was like, oh, what did she say?
I hope he
What did she say?
Hold on, Tom. Let me play it.
Yeah.
I'll just play the whole thing.
Okay.
Obligation and a duty to the Constitution, a duty to the peaceful transition of power. And I think that, when you look at the challenges we face today and you look at the real turn towards socialism that you see coming from the Democrats, when you see, this decision on Afghanistan, when you see the executive orders President Biden has signed ending all oil and gas leases on public lands, when you see the massive spending for the Green New Deal, when you see the extent to which, they really don't want us to teach kids American history, but they don't want us to teach our kids to be proud of this country. Those are all battles that we've got to fight, battles we have to be in, that I'm honored to be in, and that I'm going to continue to fight, and I know ultimately that we will win.
If Donald Trump were the 2024 nominee, would you support him?
I would not.
Okay. Liz Cheney, very good catching up with you. Thank you very much.
You too, Neil. Thank you. Good to be.
So here's the thing, she goes out of her way to fucking list off every single Republican talking point, Tom, except for the last one, which is I will not vote for Trump. She hits she hits it like a fucking pinball machine, man. Socialism. Democrats don't want to teach history. She's got 6 guns. She's shooting targets. She's like, pew, 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 pew. And then at the end, they're like, will you vote for Trump? She just blows the fucking smoke out of there. Nope. Whoop, whoop. Right in the holster, walks away.
The thing that blew me away about this was that he was surprised to hear that she voted to impeach him. How the fuck can this, how in the world, what world are you living in where you should be surprised?
Yeah.
That somebody who voted to impeach the motherfucker would be like, yeah, well, I voted to impeach him, but I'd still vote to reelect him.
Yeah.
No, what? It's the only non-hypocritical thing I've ever heard a Republican say. I think that's why the guy on Fox was flummoxed.
Flabbergasted. That's why, although, Tom, you can vote to impeach him and then still vote for his Supreme Court nominee. That's okay. Ask Mitt Romney.
That is, yeah.
Ask fucking Mitt if that's okay. And he'll tell you it's okay. It's perfectly fine. Because I agree with his decision. I don't agree with him and I don't like him and I'll vote twice to fucking impeach him, but I will vote for his fucking Supreme Court nomination.
Yeah, well, Romney is still a Republican, my friend.
Oh, fucking A, dude.
That guy is
Don't let him fool you. Don't let him fool you, man. Don't let any of these fuckers fool you.
Nope, not
Especially
one
her.
of them is worth a shit.
And that's the thing is I remember hearing her very impassioned, and she was the one who brought it up, in fact. And she's a high-ranking House member, and everybody didn't like that shit. They were pissed. They didn't like her. There was a lot of people super mad about it. But she brought it up, and, she stood by, those very narrow principles. But, don't fucking mistake the idea that she's on your fucking side.
Not
she
for
ain't
a
on your
minute.
fucking side.
Nope, not for a fucking second. She dislikes everything you love.
Yeah.
Like, she wants to stop progress, everything. But again, how the fuck is anybody surprised?
Yeah.
How can you be surprised?
No, don't be surprised.
It's crazy.
So we want to thank our patrons. Of course, we want to thank all our patrons. We want to thank our newest patrons, The Mutated Wisdom, Janie, Adra, Scott, Kim, Jen, I knowledge fight scathing and thinking atheists through the glory hole. Neon Relics, Idiom Mathematics, Abigail, Daniel, and Uncle Piss.
Uncle Piss. This is a classy show, Cecil.
The people who up their pledges, Calf, Z, Chris, Jack, and Dylan. And we did ask last week, if you are someone who enjoys the show, we ask that you become a patron. We are asking people to chip in for the hard work that we do every week. And Tom and I put in a lot of time and effort into the show, and Ian as well. And we give Ian a nice portion of that money. That money goes to Ian because he's worth it.
He works hard,
and he's worth it, and he does a great job. And we're very happy to have him on board. And we'd like to keep paying him. So if you enjoy the show and you want to support us, you can go to patreon.com or you can go to Dissonance Pod. There's a patron link at the bottom.
And anybody that does not want to become a patron, please write in an email to us about why you don't love Ian's baby.
Yeah, that's very important.
You don't love
very
Ian's
important. Baby. So we got a bunch of messages this week. We got an interesting message from Andrew. And Andrew says, I support the notion of COVID passports in theory. However, very concerned about how this will disproportionately affect our poor communities, specifically individuals who are Black and brown. In a lot of those places, hospitals have been closed, limiting access to medical care in our for-profit system. There's historically a general distrust of government initiatives providing the vaccine, the Tuskegee experiment and such. And that's going to cause a lot of people not to get the jab. These vulnerable communities might be more susceptible to further discrimination because of businesses requiring proof of COVID vaccination for travel, service, job, et cetera. And that's an interesting take on this because there is fewer opportunities for them and there is more distrust there. And it's hard to see this outside of the lens of privilege that I know I have. But it's my hope that the more people get it, the more communities of color get it. And I did hear recently that communities of color are getting this way more than the sort of mommy Karens that are mommy blogging. Like they are getting it at a far higher rate.
I think that there was a tremendous amount of concern over the distrust issue, but when you look at the surveys, some of the most recent surveys that have been done about willingness to take the vaccine, not whether or not you've gotten it, access is a separate issue, but willingness to take the vaccine, there was a big worry that people of color were going to be more distrustful, and numerically they're not. Numerically, people of color are clamoring for this vaccine. I think in part because this disease has ravaged their communities disproportionately.
Because many of them are frontline workers, right?
Right.
Like many of them work jobs. We're talking at the very beginning of the show about the incredible privilege of being able to work from home. Many people of color don't have that privilege. They have to work in a frontline job.
Yep.
They have to work in a place where they're interacting with other people on a one-to-one basis, and they need this thing in order to survive because they're seeing people on there that are close to them wind up getting this disease. We got a message. Patreon y'all for doing y'all's beards like this during a live stream. This was from Unapologetics podcast. There's an image of a guy with a tinsel beard. And that is, I don't even know how you would do that. It's like a glitter tinsel beard. I'm going to post that in this week's show notes.
Why?
You guys take a look at it. I don't even know how that would be possible. I will say, though, at a certain point, Tom, like, my beard at a certain point is just like fucking, I don't even know. It's like a fucking nuclear bomb at a certain point because I haven't cut it in a very long time, and it just goes poof and just will not.
Yep.
I have to like fucking comb it and then use the heat thing to like straighten it, and it still fucking puffs out on the sides.
Yep.
I haven't been to a barber in a long time, and so I'm looking forward to going to see a barber and just say, fix this, because I'm not used to it being this long at the sides of my face or this long on my chin because I haven't cut it in a year. And so
oh my God,
it's just keeps on growing in the same direction. I have, lots of, it's really kinky and it just like sort of stays in one place, but I have to spend a lot of time fucking brushing that thing because I look like somebody put a fucking dinner plate of hair on my face.
Haley was kind enough to trim mine, I don't know, maybe like a month or two ago, because I had not had it cut in many months.
Yeah.
And it was fucking making me crazy because didn't grow the same rate everywhere. It was all fucking wild. I got on a call, Cecil, with my boss's boss, and I never have to get on a Zoom call with that guy. I mean, now I talk to that guy once every couple of years. And the first thing is, oh my God, Tom, your beard. He sent me a thing of cigars because he called me Fidel Curry, and he sent me a thing of cigars. It was really funny, but it was just shy. Like it shocked him. He stopped it was just,
and
I
look like fucking Fidel Castro. I get it. I'll own that shit 100%, man. 100%. It's the worst. It's terrible. It's terrible.
I actually got a text message from my barber a week or two ago. And he's like, hey, man, I miss you in the shop. I'm like, I'm coming back.
Yeah.
I'm vaccinated. I'm coming back.
I'm going to go get my hair back. I'm going to get my ends trimmed and my beard done. I'm going to get my hair did for sure. the moment I can.
All right.
We got a message about silencers. We get these on occasion. We recognize that silencers are not what people think silencers are. Silencers, there's a tiny baffle in comparison to what they show in movies. We know this. We recognize that that's the case. I think we were making a joke about silencers last time.
Silencers and flamethrowers are just things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I made a comment that they're illegal in most states.
Yeah. And we were just making a joke. It's not, we don't, I know Tom and I both recognize that you still would hear.
It's not a
it's
sound.
Not,
I know it's not.
It's not fucking James Bond. We know it's not that way. But
I will say, you still don't need it. Like, I know people say, oh, it reduces hearing damage. It also, like, dramatically reduces the accuracy of the gun. So, what do you need a silencer for? It's not.
Yeah, wear earplugs. You know what I mean? Like,
right. I mean, you and I have shot a million times.
Everybody should be wearing hearing protection.
Right.
And I have shot many guns just to see how loud they were without it. You can shoot 1 or 2 shots and you're okay. It's like a very loud firecracker. So you can do it without earplugs. So, and if you're in a life or death situation, which is, I guess, what people are talking about when you wouldn't have earplugs in, then I guess you just deal with the hearing damage instead of the death damage. I mean, you got to take the good, you take the bad. I certainly wouldn't want to be pulling a silenced pistol out in my house and shooting at somebody and maybe hitting my cat or my wife or something. That doesn't make it.
Why would you go target practicing with a silenced gun? There are better options. And if you're target shooting, you don't want something that damages the accuracy of your gun.
Yeah.
So just from a practical perspective, a silencer is not valuable in the hands of the everyday person.
No,
it's valuable in the hands of military because, as this email notes, it makes the sound harder to pinpoint and harder to locate.
Yeah. Well, and also I think it's valuable to the public because they want a cool toy. They want to have a toy.
Yeah, that's all it is. Yeah.
That's all it is. We got an interesting message from Garrett, and he says, I work in rural Michigan. And in conversations with people, a lot of people never wear masks, but admit in a one-on-one setting that they're getting the vaccine. And he's basically saying, like, the idea is that they're going to get this vaccine because it's not something that someone else can see, that someone else can pinpoint, that someone, it's just like when you vote for somebody, they can't tell who you voted for. You walk into the booth, you could have voted for Biden and you could still tell everybody you voted for Trump, even though you hate him or whatever. So you can hide that sort of thing. And the same thing goes with the mask. You can't hide that, but you can hide the fact that you got a vaccine.
Yeah, it is interesting because toxic masculinity certainly plays into the anti-vax and anti-mask
anti-masking for sure.
Yep.
We got a message from Indiana Joe, and he had said that, there's some crazy people out there in the sort of party of Q right now that are really far crazy people that they have access to guns. And one of the reasons why he wants to have guns and have access to guns is because they have access to guns. And I 100% agree with you in that sense, because some of those people, I watched the Frontline thing. That Frontline, there's an American Insurrection. If you haven't seen it, it's a long, long documentary, maybe almost 2 hours long. Very interesting documentary that elucidated a lot of interesting things to me. One, I thought the Boogaloo movement was a joke. I do not.
Man, I did too.
No longer
How
think
not
the
a
Boogaloo
joke are
movement is
they?
a joke. Also, the depth of white supremacy and into some of these groups was surprising. Way more than I thought. I always thought white supremacy was a lot more disorganized, and that really shed a light on that for me, that in a way that was a little alarming. So I understand, but at the same point, I recognize too that if we all start to get rid of our guns in some way or start to limit our guns in some way, hopefully it limits their guns too, and then they're just less dangerous then. We got a message about hearing us on the Thinking Atheist, where I gave a mac and cheese recipe. You can check us out on the Thinking Atheist. We were on last week. We're also on the YouTube channel, so you can check out that show. Seth had us on, just asked us a bunch of random questions that we just sort of, spitballed because he didn't really prep us. So it was, there was no prep, and we just had to kind of go off the cuff. So it was interesting and fun, and so check it out if you get a chance. We're also on the Scathing Atheist this week. We did a roast section with them. So you can check out the Scathing Atheist this week. We came on to do a Vulgarity for Charity segment with them. I want to just mention a bunch of people, like we mentioned at the beginning of the show, sent us messages about how long they've been listening. We read them all. Thank you so much for listening for such a long time. It's our 10-year anniversary recently. But I want to call attention to one in particular. This is Dan. And Dan sent in a message. And he said, I caught the live stream the other night late, so I wasn't able to join in and reminisce. He said, but I remember, but I barely remember, but I apparently found your show while searching for the atheist experience, and sadly did not start as early as I had hoped. Seems like about 15 months after you started. I still listen to every episode and appreciate your work. So he listened about 15 months after we started. Wow. He replied to the original email that he sent to us. It came in.
How crazy is that?
He replied to the original email he sent to us on Friday, August 31st, 2012. And it's still in our inbox. And he
replied so cool,
to that.
actually.
I think that's so cool. I think it's so great. So Dan, thanks for listening to us for so long. And also thanks so much to everybody who's listened to us for a long time. And we really do appreciate all the people who have stuck with us, and all the new people. And we're just happy that people listen. Like every time somebody ever says to me, hey man, love the podcast, my first response to that always is, thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. Thanks for listening. Because I'm happy that you like it. I'm happy that we put out a product that people enjoy. And it's not just one or two, it's a lot of people who really enjoy the show. And we get a lot of great messages. And this last week was one of those weeks where we got a lot more great messages than we got bad messages. So it's really nice.
And I will echo similarly. I think it's, I don't know, man, there's something just like incredibly humbling about the idea that people have stuck with you for 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Sure. That, they've listened to hundreds of hours of just us, of just me and Cecil just talking and bullshitting and saying, did you see this shit on the news this week? I mean, and that's what this show is. And that's what it started out as, I guess. But it's really kind of become this home for people.
Yeah.
And it's taken on a life that doesn't exist just through Cecil and myself. And it's a really fun and humbling and wonderful experience to be a part of the community that our listeners built with each other.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's fun to watch that community exist, and it's fun to watch those people interact with each other. And we see it every week on the live stream. We see how they interact with each other, and there's so many people that become friends and they talk to each other. When you see the chat, I see the chat later, and you see how they greet each other, and they're happy to see each other, and they're happy to talk to each other. And so it's actually a really cool thing. Catch our live streams, 9 p.m. Central. A couple weeks, Tom's going to be in studio with me, so that's going to be pretty awesome. You guys should definitely come to that one. That one's going to be in 2 weeks. What is that? The 29th, I think? 29th, I'm thinking, something like that. I don't have a camera. I don't have a calendar in front of me, so I'm guessing. But 29th, Tom's going to be in studio, so you should check that one out. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this week. We're going to leave you, like we always do, with the Skeptic's Creed.
Credulity is not a virtue. It's fortune cookie cutter, mommy issue, hypno-Babylon bullshit. Couched in scientician, double bubble, toil and trouble, pseudo quasi-alternative, acupunctuating, pressurized, stereogram, pyramidal, free energy healing, watered downward spiral, brain deadpan sales pitch, late night info docutainment. Leo, Pisces, cancer cures, detox, reflex, foot massage, death in towers, tarot cards, psychic healing, crystal balls, Bigfoot, Yeti, aliens, churches, mosques and synagogues, temples, dragons, giant worms, Atlantis, dolphins, truthers, birthers, witches, wizards, vaccine nuts, shaman healers, evangelists, conspiracy, doublespeak, stigmata, nonsense. Expose your sides. Thrust your hands, bloody, evidential, conclusive. Doubt even this.
The opinions and information provided on this podcast are intended for entertainment purposes only. All opinions are solely that of Glory Hole Studios, LLC. Cognitive Dissonance makes no representations as to accuracy, completeness, currentness, suitability, or validity of any information, and will not be liable for any errors, damages, or butthurt arising from consumption. All information is provided on an as-is basis. No refunds. Produced in association with the local Dairy Council and viewers like you.